Witzig. I just found out that I can start and stop recording with the button on this mic. Wow. Hi and welcome to Evil Knits. My name is Evi or Evi, and today I'm wearing this lipstick for the first time, so I hope everything goes well. This is the 5th episode of my knitting and making podcast, though today I only have knitting to show. I have 2 finished objects, 1 small work in progress, and then we have some acquisitions today. If you have been here before, you may know that so far I haven't had any yarny acquisitions to show. That will change today. There's gonna be cones, so if you're interested in that, that will be at the end of the video. But first, I would like to talk about what I'm wearing, which is also one of the finished objects of the day. It is, touching the microphone, it is the Amy Slipover. I don't know, this color, I've talked about it plenty before. This color is so nice. Before I talk about the color, let me show you the piece actually. So you can see there's kind of a big collar going on. It's quite floppy, and I've placed the mic so that it still works. So I will not play around with it too much, but as you can see, it's a long, big collar. And then standing up, this is what the front looks like of the slipover. And then the slipover has this detail. It's tied at the sides with these ribbons. And then the back panel, in my case, a similar length to the front. The original has the front be a little bit shorter, but I lengthened the front. And then, of course, there's ties on the left side as well. And I knit my Amy Slipover in 1 strand of Nutiden, which is unspun yarn produced in Sweden. The color is called Moder. It was a colorway released in December of 2024. I fell in love with it. I love purples, and this vibrant blue purple is so beautiful to me. So I just had to get my first Nutiden then and there. And then I held 1 strand of Lana Grossa Seta Suri with it, which is a lace weight, alpaca, Suri alpaca, and silk fluff strand. And I worked on this Amy Slipover for kind of 2 weeks. I cast it on the 18th of April and finished it on the 2nd of May. And yeah, I'm wearing it for the first time because I just finished blocking it. It just dried and I put it on, and I'm not sure if it's too warm for me. I can feel myself heating up a little bit, so I may have to change. But yeah, so far it feels really nice. It's not itchy at all, what I can feel on my skin. I was a little bit unsure if it was going to be itchy, but it is not. And the drape is really nice. And the color, of course, is my favorite thing about it. Knitting this up was quite simple. It's a pattern in a booklet that only comes in 1 size, which is kinda meh. And then I chose to knit it with this yarn, with which I couldn't meet gauge. So I played with the numbers a little bit. I will not get into the numbers here. I kind of talk about it on my Ravelry project page, so if you're more interested in that and what I changed, you can have a look there. But yeah, I don't want to talk about it too much to not give anything away of the pattern. I knit the entire thing on 3mm needles. I'm a loose knitter, meaning I usually have to size down needles to meet gauge. And for this one, the yarns were a little bit slippery to work with. The Suri, the Seta Suri, is slippery because it is silk and then a fluff that's just slippery in and of itself. And I also find the Nutiden to be quite slippery. It doesn't have the kind of grip that spun and plied yarn has. And then I used metal needles, so that added to the slipperiness of the entire thing. But I just stayed on 3mm for the stockinette and for the ribbing part actually. The pattern calls for a tubular or Italian bind-off, I think Italian bind-off, at the edges. So you knit it top down, and then at the end of the ribbing you're supposed to do a tubular or Italian bind off. I'm not sure which one. And I tried doing that, but because I knitted this in one strand of unspun and one strand of fluff, it was pretty much impossible to do that. I tried that, and after a few stitches I was so frustrated with it. And yeah, it just didn't work, that I undid that and just did a normal bind off. And I think it actually looks great. And it's still stretchy enough. I stretched it out a little bit with blocking, but I think it looks quite neat. And yeah, I think it looks really good as well. And it wasn't a pain at all to work this. So I'm very happy I made that decision and decided not to torture myself. Yeah, I also did a normal bind off at the sides over here. And for the neck, I did a modified stretchy bind off. I did the Jenny surprisingly stretchy bind off method for every second stitch only, so that I reduced the flare. And I think that's all of the important info about this. I was afraid that the ribbons would be a little bit too long, but I think it's actually an okay length. They're still quite long, but I like the look of it. What I just have to figure out is how I can tie the bows more in the middle of the body, because of the way you have to tie it. This arm not being able to reach as far, the bow kind of always sits more towards the front. And at least it's symmetrical on both sides, but I don't know, I would prefer if the bow were to sit a little bit more in the middle here. But maybe my arm is just too short. I'll try getting that next time, but for now, it's fine. My second finished object is another garment that you have also seen before. And I had a little bit of a self-imposed deadline on this, because this is a sweater that looks like this, that I knit for my mom. And this upcoming Sunday is Mother's Day here, so today is Thursday in 3 days, so everything is fine. This has yet to be blocked, so excuse the scrunched up look to it, especially at the point of attention for this sweater pattern, which is the raglan line. This is the Yarn Drops Fiesta in the colorway Misty Mountains, I believe it's called. And the pattern is the sweater number 9 light by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I knitted it in the smallest size, which is still a little bit too big. My beautiful mother is quite a petite woman, and she doesn't want things to be super oversized. So maybe I should have just gone with a different pattern, because this pattern is meant to be worn with, I think, 20 centimeters of positive ease, which is not the style for my mom and shouldn't be the case with this size, but still, I'm not sure if this maybe is a little bit too big still. I showed my mom the pattern photo, and then we looked at it and we talked about what she would want to have differently, which first of all is the neck. The original neck is quite a bit longer, I think 10 centimeters, and I shortened it to about 4 centimeters. And then I just followed the pattern, and then for the sleeves, I modified them a little bit. I did the decreases a little bit faster and shortened the sleeve overall. Also did 4 centimeters of ribbing over here. And then it calls for a 2x2 Italian bind off, for which I used the method by Irina Revo here on YouTube for both of the sleeve bind offs. And I think it looks nice. Again, it's unblocked, so excuse the look. And I'm getting really warm, so I will change out of the slipover. Okay, I just put the sweater on quickly to just show you what it looks like on me. I actually have this sweater as well, and I also knitted it in size XS, the same size as this one for me, but I didn't shorten the sleeves. So if I stand up now, you can see that the sleeves are a little bit too short for me. Looking at them now, I'm a little bit scared that with blocking they will grow so much that they will be too long again. But if I have it like this, you know, it's really quite short. The yarn is a superwash yarn, so it's a little bit of a gamble what will happen to it. I will block it after filming this. And yeah, where was I? I showed you the sleeves with the other method of doing Italian bind off for 2x2 rib. And then the body I just knit straight, also shortened it a little bit, I think. Did again 4 centimeters of ribbing, and then I didn't want to do this method of binding off for the body. So I did the rearranging the 2x2 rib to 1x1 rib in the last row, and then just did a normal Italian bind off for 1x1 rib. And I think that's fine. I don't think anyone will look that closely and see, you did a different method for the sleeves than for the body. And again, unblocked, so it's not super pretty right now, but this is what it looks like. And yeah, I'm a fan of this colorway. I don't know, I'm interested to see what I look like on video when editing this, because I initially bought this colorway for me. I had 14 50-gram balls and I used not even 9. So I have 5 full balls and then 10 grams left over. And I think those leftovers will eventually just turn into DK weight socks for me and another person in my life. I think I can get 2 adult pairs out of them. So yeah, I didn't even use 1,000 meters for this sweater. It weighs 435 grams. And in yards, it's just over 1,000 yards, 1,040 or something. I knitted it given in the needle sizes given in the pattern. And yeah, I quite like the modification with the shortened neck, actually. I do find that I like turtlenecks, but I quickly overheat in them. So, Amy, I'm looking at you, because the Amy is kind of a little bit wider. I think it will be better than with some other turtlenecks that I have, but we will see. Yeah, I will block it and then give it to my mom this Sunday. And I hope she'll like it, but if not, no pressure, that's okay. I think I can wear it as well. Maybe I will. I actually like bracelet length sleeves or 3/4 sleeves because I usually push them up quite a bit. I wear sweaters while doing housework and sitting on the PC. It's also nice to have them up a little bit. So yeah, if my mom is not the biggest fan of the sweater, I'll just take it for myself. So that were the 2 finished objects I have for today. That brings us to the one single whip. Let me just attach the mic. Okay, the whip that I have is a sock. And this is all I have so far. I will cover my face. This is what it's looking like. As you can see, it is a sock worked top down, meaning I cast on at the cuff, worked a little bit of ribbing, and then went into the pattern for the sock. Let me put my hand in there so I can show you the fabric a little bit more nicely. This could also be a glove. This pattern is called the Simple Skip Socks by Adrienne Koo. Is it Adrienne or Adrienne Koo? Also known as Mushroom Knits. They are a designer that's not active at this point in time, I don't think. And this pattern is by far their most well-known pattern. I think on Ravelry there are over 12,000 projects. It is a free sock pattern as well. And as you can see, it's kind of a ribbed sock, but the detail of the so-called skip stitch is what makes this pattern what it is. It's quite fun to work. It's a 2-row repeat that gives you this simple texture that's easy to work and nice to look at. And yeah, I just finished the leg. I'm knitting, so the sizing, the pattern is written for sport weight yarn. I'm using fingering weights. And then the sizing is for some reason only given in men's sizes. So it starts with an extra small men's and then goes to an XL men's, I think. As I said, I'm using fingering weight yarn on 2.5 millimeter needles, and I cast on 56 stitches. I'm making these for me. I just finished the leg, and I just did the first 2 rows of the heel flap, which you can barely see at this point. So yeah, it's a heel flap and gusset construction, meaning I'll work the heel flap, then the heel turn, and then knit the foot from here on out. I cast these on because I needed a simple project for commuting and calming my mind down while commuting because I was on my way to a job interview. I was kind of nervous and I thought, okay, better have a knitting project in the bag in case I need to calm down. I didn't end up knitting that much. I just sat there and was silently panicking. But yeah, I worked on these yesterday evening a lot after I finished the sweater. Oh, the sweater, by the way, I started on the 11th of April and finished yesterday on the 6th of May. These socks I cast on the 3rd of May and they're still ongoing. Ah, yes, I said I'm knitting them on 2.5 millimeter needles or US 1.5, and I'm knitting them on my cubics. So these are DPNs, double pointed needles that are cubic, they're square. I'm really not sure if you can see anything at all right now, but usually DPNs are round needles. These are square, meaning when you put them on a table, they don't roll away, they just stay because they're square. And they are purple, which just adds to my love for them. I don't exactly prefer these to normal round DPNs, but I do like to use them from time to time. I don't know, I like using different tools. I think they are called J'adore cubics, and the J'adore just refers to the color. It's like the Mindful collection by Knit Pro, just referring to the aesthetics of it, the turquoise color. The J'adore is just the purpleness, and then cubics for the shape. I believe there's also an interchangeable needle set of these. I only have these DPNs though. To the yarn that I'm using, this is relatively unspectacular yarn. I mean, you've seen that it's gray. It's gray and gray and gray. This is, hello. This is what the tag looks like. It's a yarn by Opal, and the Abo is short for abonnement, which is the German word for subscription. I've talked about this in my stash video. I feel like I'm referring to that video a lot. The Opal Abo is a subscription box that Opal, the sock yarn producer, sends out 4 times a year. In every box, there are 6 100-gram skeins that are surprises. You don't know beforehand what's in there. You just know there's 6 100-gram fingering weight, standard 75-25 balls of yarn. I lost my sentence there, but I hope you know what I mean. And all of the 6 balls are different colorways. And the colorways that they produce for this subscription box, they actually produce them just for this subscription box, are colorways that have not been made before. It's colorways that they may include in future drops or collections, whatever you would like to call it. And some of the colorways will theoretically never come back, or in collections far in the future. We don't know. So yeah, sometimes you get a subscription box and you work with a yarn, and then a year or so later you see that same colorway in a collection, and sometimes you just never see them again. Within Germany, there's a small community of sock knitters that also do exchanges and sell individual balls of the subscription box in case anyone wants to have more than one. There's a group on Ravelry where people offer some or all of the balls that they don't want or don't need. So yeah, you're not exactly stuck with just knitting socks with one ball of this, but it can be a little bit tricky to get more. They do change the tag of the abo from time to time, maybe every year. Right now it's this Candyland type of deal, and it doesn't have a colorway, so all of the yarns in the subscription box don't have a colorway. And in my Ravelry, I then just note down from which box the yarn comes from. This one was in the March 2026 box that I received. And I chose this color because I don't have many just slightly variegating or gradiently striping sock yarns. Though for this pattern, I didn't want to use a highly speckled or striping sock yarn. So I think this goes together really well. And these socks are actually the only whip I have on my needles right now. So I need to cast on something new. And I think it's time for the Barbaro blouse. So yeah, I think it's time. Okay, the last thing I have to show you today are my newly acquired wool cones. I'm thinking if I should switch places and just sit on the floor so you can see all of them at the same time. But I think I'll bring them over one by one because the light here is best. I'm looking at them, they're behind you, which is why I am critically looking at them. But yeah, give me a second and I'll grab a few cones and then talk about them. Starting with the two biggest ones, or actually with the biggest one first. It's this cone in this very light gray or foggy white. All of the cones that I purchased are very thin yarns. They're very fine, so I will, in this case, wind some of the yarn off and then hold it, maybe triple strand it, depending on what I want to make with this. And this entire cone weighs 1 kilo and 475 grams. So that includes the actual paper cone in the middle. And it says it's merino yarn, and then there's some color and dye lot info. I'm not sure if you're really interested in that. Maybe I'll take some B-roll of some and then just show that. I purchased all of these cones that I'm about to show you from one seller on VINTED. I'll talk about what I paid after I just quickly show you everything. So the second cone is this beautiful, beautiful blue with a hint of green. I really like this blue. I didn't even know it was this beautiful from the pictures that I saw online. This cone weighs 712 grams. And yeah, it doesn't say that it's merino. The seller did say that everything is just wool. I can't be 100% sure, but it looks like it is wool as well. Also a very thin strand that is not plied, just spun. This one is plied. This is a 2-ply. I'll grab more yarns. Okay, then we have 3 smaller cones of the same brown yarn, also very beautiful. This also looks to be spun but not plied. And it's also a very thin yarn. I have never made a hand-knitted brown piece of clothing, which I really want to do. I like brown, so I'm happy I have these. This one weighs 157 grams, this one 173 grams, and this one 251. grams. So I'm not sure. Maybe I can get one sweater out of this for me. The color is marrone. And Delia Filati Fantasia SRL. Maybe that's the producer. I'm not sure. Some of these cones look like they have been stored for a while. So you can see there's a little bit of humidity damage to the paper cone. And when the entire package arrived, I was actually super wary of buying secondhand wool from a stranger from abroad, because you never know what people do to their yarns, what has been in here, maybe has wanted to eat this. So when I opened the package, I was like, ooh, what's there? And with every tiny speck of dust or paper that was on the cones, I was like, is that a moth? But I cleaned all of the cones immediately. I had my vacuum cleaner there and just vacuum cleaned them off. And yeah, some of them had some particles of some kind in this crease, kind of between cone and yarn. But I just, yeah, I cleaned everything. I think here I can show you as a good example. You can see that they have been stored for a while. I think I will put them in a plastic bag though and just chuck them in the freezer now that I've shown you. Then we have these 4, also of the same color. This is a dark gray, heathered with some white. The smallest one is just 97 grams. This one is 166 grams. This one is 177 grams. And then this one is 296 grams. Also a very beautiful color. A single strand, again, very fine. All of them feel very high quality. I do think they're all just 100% wool, and they're probably all merino. They feel quite soft. And then one last colorway, which is just a deep black. Also, again, 4 cones. The smallest one, 123 grams. Then 163 grams, 354 grams, and then the biggest one is 678 grams. Again, the same kind of yarn, not plied, single spun, very soft. Yeah, and here on the black one, you can really see those particles I'm talking about, where I was very paranoid about them. But yeah, maybe I can even fit this one in the freezer, just to be safe. I really don't think there's anything in here. And we have very good moth protection and prevention in our home. My partner and I both don't want moths in our clothes, so we have a lot of lavender and moth traps, so we should be good even if the worst case happens. But I don't think that will happen. So yeah, all in all of these cones that I just showed you weigh in at 4,822 grams, and that is including all of the paper cones that are in there. These are 13 cones, so there's 13 paper cones. Yeah, but for those 4 kilos and 822 grams, I paid, including shipping and VINTED protection fee, 37 euros and 5 cents, which is not a lot. And these were shipped from Italy to me here in Germany. So I did a little bit of maths. If you were to divide those almost 5 kilos into 50-gram balls, that will be around 96 50-gram balls, which is a lot. This really makes you realize how densely the yarn is put on cones. But as I said, there's 13 paper cones in here, so if we were to roughly estimate each of those weighing in at 25 grams, we would actually be yarn-wise more at 4,500 grams, 4.5 kilos, which would be 90 50-gram balls. And the price I paid, 37 euros and 5 cents divided by 90, brings us to 41 cents per 50 grams. And that's a deal, that's a steal. I, of course, was inspired by Inga of Knitting Traditions, who has uploaded a cone video not too long ago. And while I watched the video, I was starting to browse for cones. And another knitting content creator called Fioricini Knits, who's also a pattern designer and a cone enthusiast, has a long time ago made short form content on Instagram about finding cones on VINTED. So I have been looking on VINTED here and there, but never actually made a purchase. But this time around I did. I found this seller that had these cones and then 1 or 2 more listings that weren't as interesting for me. Yeah, I think I even got a little bit of a discount because I purchased so many. Knitting Traditions is going to host, or is already hosting, the Cozy Cone Make-Along, which I will be joining with these cones that I now have. I'm thinking about using this and this one together in the Poise Sweater by Herb Garden Knitwear, which is a pattern I own but don't have the yarn for. And I wanted to use Holst Super Soft for that one, because I have been wanting to try Holst Super Soft for a long time, but I don't own Holst Super Soft. And now I own these, and I'm really in love with the color combination that Hannah chose for her sample. And these are really similar to that. So this one could be the main color, and then I could use this one for the contrasting color. And then I would probably still have enough of the white to make a nice textured, maybe oversized sweater. I'm again thinking about something like the Ingrid by Petite Knit. Something along those lines. In white. Whew, that would be nice. Okay, that's it from me for today. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you had a good time crafting away while listening to me talk about my crafting. Have a lovely start to the weekend, and I hope to see you again next week or the week after. Next week I'm actually gone for a few days. We'll see when we see each other next. To not miss anything, feel free to subscribe and maybe click the like button. Yeah, thank you so much for being here, and see you next time. Bye!